And we're back for our next chapter. And we're looking at Charles Schulz today. It's a gorgeous sunny day out, unlike today. So I do hope you'll join me for 10-15 minutes for this chapter of Kid Artists, Creative Legends. Charles Schulz. Shout out to my friend Bob, who's a big Peanuts fan, especially Woodstock and Snoopy. Hey, Bob. Charles Schulz, the shy guy. Not Bob at all, not a shy guy. Long before he created Charlie Brown, Snoopy and the rest... I'm going to read that sentence again because I started off a little weird. Starting over. Long before he created Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and the rest of the Peanuts gang, Charles Sparky Schulz was just a quiet kid with a sketch pad who felt uncomfortable sharing his drawings with others. Only by overcoming his shyness could he make the leap from secret doodler to superstar cartoonist. I think I can relate to you a little bit there on that one, Charles. Charles Schulz's father, Carl, loved comics. In the 1930s, he owned a thriving 3-chair barbershop in St. Paul, Minnesota. Oh, Minnesota. I would have been in Minneapolis this week for the NAEA conference if it hadn't been for this pandemic. Every Sunday, Carl would buy 4 newspapers just so he could follow the adventures of Buck Rogers, Little Orphan Annie, and other cartoon characters who populated the funny pages. Charles, Carl's only child, came to share his father's passion for the newspaper comic strips. As a young boy, Charles was called Sparky, named after a rickety racehorse in the comic strip Barney Google. Not the Google that you know. On weekdays, Sparky helped his dad in the barber shop. On weekends, he would head over to the office at the town newspaper. He'd press his nose against the glass windows and watch the weekly funnies roll off the presses. And this is what a newspaper press at least used to look like. I don't know if they're still similar, but so he liked watching the papers fall off the press. Now we get most of our news through Google. Or the internet. Sparky soon learned that he could do more than just read the comics. He could draw them. At the end of a long day spent cutting and sweeping hair, Sparky and his father rode home together on the streetcar. On cold winter evenings, and Minnesota had many of those, Sparky would sketch scenes from their day using his finger to draw in the steam-fogged window. Like in a car, and draw a little heart, and I love you. Sensing that their son had a knack for illustration, Sparky's parents gave him a small chalkboard to carry around. Sparky went hours drawing pictures on his dark surface. When he grew older, he moved on to sketch pads. He always kept a sharpened pencil in his pocket, in case the urge to doodle should strike. On more than one occasion, the pencil point poked a hole in his trousers. Hey, he dropped your pencil. See a little Woodstock there. You see his hole in his pants and the pencil, everything else falling out. I always keep a small sketch pad about this size, actually. It's like 3 by 5 in my purse, as well as a nice mechanical pencil and drawing pen in case the mood should strike me. I think I have some students who can relate to that. At first, Sparky kept his drawings private. He was shy and didn't like to call attention to himself. At family gatherings, he sat alone with his face buried in his sketch pad. He rarely joined in conversations with his relatives, but sometimes an aunt or uncle would ask what he was drawing. Let him alone, Sparky's mother would admonish them. One time, Sparky's parents took him to visit his Aunt Clara in the Wisconsin countryside. Cheese. Clara's son, Reuben, also liked to draw. In fact, Reuben impressed the adults with his drawing of a man sitting on a log. Sparky took one look at his cousin's sketch and thought, I could do better than that. And here we see a relative. What you drawing there, Sparky? And he's all scribble, 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 scribble. And so that would stop by his side. When Sparky was in kindergarten, his teacher handed out crayons and asked the class to draw something they had seen. Inspired by the harsh Minnesota winter, Sparky drew a man shoveling snow. Then he added his own flourish, a leafy palm, a tree he had learned about from his Uncle Monroe, who lived in California. A less open-minded teacher might have criticized Sparky for letting his imagination run wild. Instead, she praised his originality, saying, "Charles, you're going to be an artist someday." After receiving such praise and encouragement, Sparky was a little less reluctant to share his art with other people. Then one day, Sparky's friend Raymond showed off the cover of his loose-leaf binder. On it, he had drawn a man riding a bucking bronco. Sparky had never thought to display his drawings like that. Soon, his own binder was festooned with sketches of cartoon characters like Mickey Mouse and Popeye. When his classmates noticed, they asked him to decorate their notebooks as well. Sparky was related. And here we see a young Charles Schulz saying, "The artist is in," selling art drawings for 5 cents a piece. And this automatically makes me think about Lucy when she does her "The Doctor is in" booth. Way to go, Doogie Horner, with that illustration. A newly confident Sparky began to excel at school. His grades soared, and he was allowed to skip the 4th grade. That seemed like a good idea at first, but it would end up being a terrible setback on the road to overcoming his shyness. That's because Sparky was now the smallest kid in his class. He longed to be selected for the school safety patrol, but was turned down because he was too short. Oh, it's vertically challenged people. Not only that, but the older kids weren't as impressed by his artwork. His younger classmates, I'm going to try that one again too. Not only that, but the older kids weren't impressed by his artwork as his younger classmates had been. When he was singled out for an award in penmanship, he could hear the other students snickering behind his back as he got up from his desk to receive his pen and certificate. Oh, making fun of him for being an achiever. And here we see him waiting with the older students because he skipped ahead in grades. And he's the little guy and all these cool kids and like the kind of greaser looking dude. Leather jacket. And he's just this little dude. Once again, Sparky retreated into his bashful shell. He rarely spoke in class and tried to hide his drawing ability. His grades began to suffer, and he was forced to repeat 8th grade. In junior high, Sparky even lost confidence in the one thing he knew he was good at. When assigned to write about William Shakespeare for English class, he came up with the idea to illustrate the paper with his own drawings, but then he decided against it. To his dismay, another boy followed through on a similar project and received high praise. "Sparky, why didn't you try to think of something like that?" But inspiration was not far away. It took the form of a mischievous black and white beagle who convinced Sparky to believe in himself again. No, not Snoopy, although Sparky would one day base his famous creation on his childhood pet. This dog was called Spike, and he was known to eat anything he could get his paws on. I wonder how many of you guys have a dog out there that eats everything, even your homework? Spike once scarfed down an entire rubber ball. Another time, he jumped onto Carl Schultz's dresser and gobbled up a wad of money from the barber shop. The pooch appeared to be indestructible. No matter what Spike ate, it just seemed to pass right through without causing him any problems. I somehow doubt that. Like, there's a razor blade. If you ate a razor blade and that came out the other end, that's going to be a problem. One winter night, when Sparky was 14, he decided to use Spike's misbehavior as the inspiration for a cartoon. He drew a picture of the gluttonous beagle sitting up and added the caption, "A hunting dog that eats pins, tacks, and razor blades is owned by C.F. Schulz, St. Paul, Minnesota." He signed his cartoon, "Drawn by Sparky." Then he did something unusual for such a shy boy. Instead of hiding the drawing in his sketchbook, he sent it to the editors of the Ripley's Believe It or Not comic strip. To Sparky's surprise, they agreed to publish it on February 22nd, 1937. Sparky's drawing appeared in more than 300 newspapers worldwide. You don't get if you don't ask. Gotta try, right? And he tried. He sent it out there in the world and said, if it happens, it happens. Sparky was immensely proud of his achievement. I'm famous. Although he remained shy and suffered many setbacks as an artist, including when his high school yearbook committee rejected his drawings, they failed, he never again lost faith in his artistic abilities. And eventually, others saw his skill too. As a young man, he applied for a place in a correspondence course at the Federal School of Applied Cartooning in Minneapolis. His work was so good that the school offered him a position as an instructor. The job was perfect for Sparky. The quiet introvert who had disliked showing his art to others was now encouraging students to share their illustrations with him. Even better, Sparky had more time to work on his cartoons, including one about a group of kids and his pet dog, the Peanuts. His creation, Peanuts, became the world's most popular comic strip. Its main character, Charlie Brown, was just like Sparky, a boy filled with self-doubt who takes inspiration from his brash, mischievous beagle. Charlie Brown may never have received the recognition he deserved, but Charles Schulz certainly did. He was rewarded with admiration of millions of comic fans worldwide. Lovely story, little Woodstock. Lovely. So, I wonder if you can guess what my project inspiration for you guys is. Make your own comic strip. Now, you've got some options for this. You could just do it on notebook paper. You could do it on white paper. You could do it on a computer. If you have a Mac, you could use an app on there called Comic Life. It's pretty cool. It already has the boxes laid out for you. You could do Post-it notes. So typically a comic strip that's in the newspaper has anywhere from 3 to 5 frames. And the words that are used are limited. It's only what's really essential to get the point of the little story across. So it's kind of a quick moment, a quick glimpse into your characters' lives. Like it could be a joke or a significant moment or something deep and poignant about the world. So you could do like 3 to 5 Post-its with the action playing out. And typically they're read from left to right. And the higher up bubble for speech content is what's read first, and the lower one is read second. So think about that. But I wonder if you can kind of come up with your own little cartoon creations. And if you're just doing it on notebook paper, then just draw like 3 to 5 rectangles or squares. It doesn't have to be a rectangle. I'd be really curious to see what you come up with. Maybe your family inspires your characters. Maybe your friends do. Maybe your teachers. I'd certainly love to see a comic strip about a goofy art teacher. I'd read it. Okay, maybe no one else would, but I'd read it. All right, so join me tomorrow when we read about Yoko Ono, who, a little controversial. Some people have their feelings about her with the Beatles, but I'm curious to learn about her as a child and how her creativity blossomed from there. All right. Love you guys. See you soon. Go take a walk with careful social distancing on this beautiful, beautiful Thursday. It's Thursday, right? Yeah, it's Thursday. Can't keep it straight.